You know what? I watch. I don't know. I'm sure you have already, but then I would advise anyone to watch that loves the game of football. Go watch John Gruden break down every game. He has a 30+ minute breakdown of Lions Packers,
This
and
guy's
he's
nuts,
a
dude.
yeah, no, his energy is contagious when you watch the actual video. But he went into so many different things within the game and matchups, and he went into Jared Goff's record against the Packers, obviously Jordan Love's record against the Lions, which is not good.
Yeah.
But he said something very interesting that I actually didn't think about in this game. Dan Campbell, as aggressive as he is actually, based on the data, he's based on teams they face, more aggressive against the Packers, which honestly, if you think about it, would you be shocked if Sunday there's a handful of fourth down attempts?
Not at all. Dan Campbell.
On a weekly basis, yes, but for whatever reason, if you remember last year, and maybe the injuries, I think, he had to be a little more aggressive. But regardless, if you go back through their last couple matchups in Ford Field last year, they went for it. Jared Goff fell, handed it to Monty. They got the first down, kicked the field goal, end of the game. He went for it on his own 20-yard line, I think, in that game as well, which many people didn't like. And in Lambeau, they went for it on fourth down and got it. And I think they got a touchdown on a fourth down. I think a handful of those fourth down calls that he attempts against the Packers turns into touchdowns. So I think this matchup, especially because it's week one, you look at the matchup itself, it's obviously going to be the Packers they're a good team. Lions are a great team. They're going to be squaring off in Lambeau week one. New coordinators. Dan, I think, is going to be aggressive still. And for whatever reason, whether it's because the Packers have the youngest team in the NFL, which I think plays a part in it, they just can't stop the Lions going for it on fourth down. They just haven't. I think Dan Campbell against the Packers, he hits on I think he's 7 of 8 on fourth down attempts. I think I'm a little
Dan
off,
versus the Packers?
7. Yeah, I think it's 6 of 7, 7 of 8, something like that. He's very successful against the Packers on fourth down. And to be honest, I think this week is going to be more of that. I do.
Yeah. Do you remember last year? I believe it might have been. It was a video, behind the scenes video, where Dan basically just said I think it was the Packers week where he was like, no matter what, we're going for it. Any position we're in, we're just going for it. I think it was towards the end of the season when there were a lot of injuries, but it feels like that's going to be this week one where Dan's just all right, we're every fourth down that's manageable, we're doing it. And it's those third down calls. You remember last year we used to get frustrated with third down runs, but the third down run, what are they setting up to do? They're setting to go up for it.
I interrupted the video to tell you about our newest sponsor, Sleeper Picks, which, by the way, for Lions Packers, you can participate in Sleeper Picks. All you got to do is choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live, or even across different sports. All you got to do is pick more or less than the predicted stats on Sleeper, and you can win money. Share with your friends and get rewarded together. Use the code CT Sports to participate. You could tail my picks. I decided to go more for David Montgomery, 0.5 touchdowns, more Romeo Doubs for his receiving yards, more for Jake Bates, total points, and more for Jack Campbell on his assisted tackles. I think all those things happen. You can tail my picks and have a chance to win some money. Remember, always gamble responsibly.
But no, I'm with you. I think they're going to back on track here. Let's get back on track. I think they're going to be very aggressive on Sunday versus the Packers, especially, it's a road game, Lambeau Field. This is we talk it feels like all the time the must wins come out. It feels like this is one of those instantly to open the season because everyone is saying the Packers are going to win the division after the Micah trade. It's one of your first road games, and probably the toughest one at Lambeau. So it's a big game right off the bat, right off the jump. Now you're in a big moment. So you would think that Dan Campbell's Dan Campbell on Sunday. I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, I expect it, actually. I would be a little taken aback if he starts punting it a lot.
I'd be shocked too. They're on the road. I think it's the perfect game to try stuff like that because, you have 2 new coordinators, which, even though a lot of things will be similar, I can also see a scenario, and John Gruden brought this up, which I think was very interesting, and I'll talk more about this week, which, again, another great point by Coach Gruden. You look at Kelvin Shepard, new DC. If I'm Matt LaFleur, and Gruden said this, why wouldn't Matt LaFleur try and be more aggressive? Like you think Calvin's going to be expecting the Packers to go for it on fourth down? Probably
I'm
not.
sure he's going to be. I mean, he's going to.
He might think about it, but that's not. They might try and do some stuff uncharacteristically to throw Calvin up.
That's what. Well, that's why I think, to be honest, the Dan Campbell thing does work to a point, because there are coaches who do try and counteract the whole thing, doing the same thing, and it's just not their game. Like Dan and the Lions are so good at it, and they have been for years, to where they're like, the Packers, go ahead, try it. We're going to stop you, and we're going to get better field position. So I think they have done it in the past. If I remember correctly, I think Matt LaFleur has been a little more aggressive versus the Detroit Lions.
That's what happens when you face Dan Campbell, dude.
Yeah, you get put in a weird position where you might have to do something like that.
Yeah. No, I could see the Packers doing it as well. And Jordan Love, this is one of those games where if you're just a neutral NFL fan and you're looking at Jordan Love versus Jared Goff, there's no way you don't look at Jared and you're like, I'm more confident in this dude going to Lambeau. He's done it. And even though the narrative of Jared in cold weather, still people believe it. And let's just be honest. No quarterback loves playing in cold weather. All right. It sucks. There are quarterbacks like Josh Allen in Buffalo that they play in snow all the time. They're used to it. They might be more adapted to it, but no quarterback genuinely enjoys playing in cold weather. So let's just get that out of the way. All right. And then number two, the narrative with Jared Goff, because of his hands, that's where it originates from. Go check his record against the Packers in Lambeau. Like he wins in Lambeau too, which Lambeau is notoriously, maybe not this Sunday, but when you play them, when teams play them later, which he's played them later in the season in Lambeau when it's cold, he wins. Yeah. So it's like you have. I think from a head coaching standpoint, I think the Lions have the advantage. I think Dan Campbell's a better head coach, and you have the quarterback advantage. And I think honestly, defensively, even though they added Micah Parsons, I love where the Lions defense is. And that's something I want to see on Sunday too. Is like, all right, Jordan Love, we know how inconsistent he is. What can this Lions defense do? Because the Packers didn't see they didn't see Aiden Hutchinson. He was hurt. So they didn't have Aiden last year. Against I think they had him in Lambeau. They might have had him in Lambeau. I can't remember. But they definitely didn't have him at Ford Field, and they beat him. So,
yeah, and this is the thing, that the conversation that keeps popping up with this Lions team, and a lot of people, you see it like national media this week. They're starting to put their predictions out for divisions. A lot of people are picking the Packers, and it's because of the Micah trade. And it's like, okay, that's the hot hand. It's it. People forget. Top to bottom, offensively, Lions have a better roster offensively. Top to bottom, defensively, you could argue the Lions have the best roster defensively as well over the Packers. So it's like, if we're talking about roster-wise and player-wise, the Lions, you would take them over the Packers 10 times out of 10, in my opinion. And it's the same thing with the coaching staff. Like, I think Matt LaFleur is a good coach. A lot of people don't like him just because he's a Packer. I talked about that last week. He's a good coach. Dan Campbell, dude, he's a top 7 coach in the NFL. Matt LaFleur is not that. So the matchup, I mean, you would have to say just favors this Lions team, especially when it comes to, the roster. And that's where I think a lot of people kind of look at. And if you want to talk about, well, they're on the road, they're in Lambeau. Dude, the Lions have been phenomenal at Lambeau Field, and Jared Goff especially, over the last few seasons. And then that's the narrative too. And Jared's mentioned it too before. Well, the narrative is always, you saw him in the behind-the-scenes video on the sideline on a cold weather game, where he went up to Ben Johnson. He was like, oh, I thought they said I can't play in the cold. And it's like, Jared's mentioned it, that go look at his stats and go look at his record in cold weather. And he was like, it's a fake narrative that people put out there. And yes, there are games where, like you said, every quarterback is going to struggle in the cold at some point. For example, the Ravens game a couple years ago. But majority of the time, Jared hasn't actually struggled in those games. And it's not even a cold weather game. It's an outdoor game. That's it. It's like, it's not going to be cold. What is it going to be? 70 degrees? You're playing in Lambeau week 1. Yeah. That's such an advantage that you get to play them as well in like week 1, and you don't have to go there week 16, week 15, week 17, and you get it out of the way right away.
Shout out, by the way, Tom Izzo. Thank you for the $5. Just please play the Hutch clip where he talks about his bionic leg and try to keep a straight face. I was crying. We'll play that later.
Did you see? He tried to throw a pause out there, and no one. Sometimes when you say pause, people give you a little. No one. He was like, read the room a little bit, and it was like an awkward.
We'll play that. We'll play it later. I got you, Tom Izzo.
None of the reporters.
They were dialed in.
Yeah.
Doc probably laughed at it a little. He had to a little bit. Streams only. He didn't play both times. Yeah, no. Okay, Aiden didn't play it both times, so that's fair. Antonio Esparza, appreciate it. He says, I'm a Bears fan and I enjoy your channel. Appreciate that, Antonio. Antonio also says, come on, bro. The Packers have a better defense. Look at those D lines, Pack, and it's not even close. Okay. You know what? Let's have that conversation.
I think top to bottom, I think you can argue the Lions if you want.
Let's have that conversation, Antonio. You want to go edge rusher? I'll give you the Packers. No doubt. You want to go interior? Lions. Not even a question.
Yeah.
You want to go linebacker? You're going to go Lions. You want to go corner? You're going to go Lions. You want to go safety? You'll go Lions. So, Antonio.
Edge rusher's sick, but.
I love pass rushers. Hey, we've been harping on it. But let's keep it a buck, Antonio. In total defense, you tell me besides edge where the Packers have a better where they're better on defense.
And you can argue that the Lions have the better edge rusher with Aiden Hutchinson. I know they have Micah, but like you can argue, arguably Aiden's better than Micah Parsons.
And like I said, I'll give you edge. Like Rashawn Gary and Micah's great. Like but besides that, what position? Where are you going? Where are you going? I mean, you can't. There's no other position group you can argue. There's just not. There's not. Packers. They have their corners are fine, but they have no depth at corner, safety. And like I love Xavier McKinney. They have Brian Branch Kirby, best safety duo arguably in the league. Yeah. So that's kind of where that is. Purple Prince says the Packers didn't play Hutch, BB, Aleem. There's a whole bunch of defensive players that did not see that.
Yeah, I mean, you remember Brian Branch got ejected from the game at Lambeau Field like a quarter in, if that. It was like a couple minutes in the game.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And then Kirby had to pick 6, but Brian Branch right away was out. So they didn't even get to see Brian Branch last year, essentially.
Actually, I actually forgot about that too. That's why we got the merch, but you can get your FTB stuff, by the way. FTP on the shop, officialctsports.com.
I heard you say FTB.
Well, we got to get some other stuff too. We just have FTP. We don't have any other. We'll get some other stuff in the shop.
There's a rumor you took the FTB one down.
No. We'll. By the way, NFC North rankings later. We'll get to that. Don't worry. Shift God. Packers can't stop the run. Doesn't matter who on that D line. Could be Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny for all I care.
That's fine.
They can't. That's the problem. You trade away your best run defender and Kenny Clark, they're gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. Like they have Wyatt on the edge as well. Like Wyatt, he came from Georgia. They got the other Georgia player. I can't remember his name, but they don't have interior guys.
No, I mean losing Kenny Clark's big. Obviously, you bring Micah in, but either way, like their interior did get worse at the end of the day. Like
Kenny Clark Kenny Clark. Now I know Micah as a player. He's better than Kenny Clark. There's no question. Yeah. But Kenny Clark was their best run defender.
Even Graham today, when they asked about the D line, like with Micah, and he was like, well, I mean, obviously Micah's good, but he was like, they lose Kenny Clark. So he was like, now the focus goes to the tackles, or to the offensive tackles. So he was like, the game plan offensive line wise will change a little bit because, Kenny Clark was such a big piece of that defense. He's one of the better defensive players on that team.
Yeah. I mean, you saw burning issues. Kenny Clark was Lions run killer. Like, yeah, they ran the ball well against the Packers, but if there was their best run defender, burning issues is right. It's Kenny Clark. And that's why I think Taylor Decker in this game, he's going to be massive, man. Like, because Penei Sewell, we know what he is. We know what he does against the best of the best. He's always consistent. He just makes things happen.
Yep.
Taylor Decker's been someone who last year struggled at times because he was injured. He is healthy. Week 1, that is good. There's no doubt the Packers. Rashawn Gary had the game against Taylor 2 years ago where he had a great game against Decker. They're definitely going to be throwing Micah at him too. And I know he's a little banged up too. But they're gonna throw both those guys at Decker and test him. So he's got to be solid. Penei will be fine. You can put Penei on an island and he'll be all right. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.